Looks like we're coming back here then. Finally, though, this place is starting to make sense to us. There's a reason why Gary Stu could visit here and no one else could.
It's so nice to see you again.
You might also notice briefly that the back of the chair that he's sitting on resembles Orpheus's lyre. I like that touch. That's actually pretty interesting.
You became unconscious after awakening to your power.
And it seems this power is more than even the veterans of the team anticipated.
It's nothing to worry about, though.
Oh yeah, having that gigantic thing burst forth from our previous persona and just go crazy, yeah, that's totally nothing to worry about. Actually, that's not going to make sense until way later in the game, so try not to think about that too hard at this point.
So just relax.
Battle's over. Guess it's time to relax.
By the way, I see that it was Orpheus that heeded your calling. That power is called a persona. It is a manifestation of your psyche.
Once again, we have the option to say I don't understand, but what is a persona exactly?
It may take some time to fully comprehend. A persona is a facet of your personality that surfaces as you react to external stimuli.
The concept of personas comes from the psychological writings of Carl Jung, where basically he describes a persona as exactly this. It's the mask that you wear in front of other people. You have different masks for different occasions, and the strongest of all come when a person faces the idea of certain death. That's why those summoning devices are shaped like guns. They force the persona user to immediately confront that feeling. Basically, it's like forcing Russian roulette upon yourself, giving you that fight or flight sensation that's required to summon a particularly strong persona, one that can actually fight.
You can think of it as a mask that protects you as you brave many hardships.
I already explained that.
That being said, your power is still weak.
And yet it was capable of completely demolishing that monster. What do you mean, weak? Let's just go with the other option.
When you use your persona ability, you must channel your inner strength. The ability evolves as you develop your social links, your emotional ties with others.
And here is the biggest part of the main reason why I'm doing this playthrough, and something that I'm going to try and show you. Social links are a big part of this game. They're not just character development and just a fun social simulator / even dating sim. They help you out in combat. In fact, they literally are your combat abilities, because in this world, the power of friendship is literally an extremely powerful magical force.
The stronger your social links, the more powerful your persona ability.
Since personas come from your own psyche, it only makes sense that forming strong bonds with others would enhance them.
Please, remember that.
So remember, don't be a jerk or you'll be totally weak in battle.
Now then, time marches on in your world.
Once again, we seem to be having a dream.
I shouldn't keep you here any longer. Next time we meet, you will come here of your own accord.
Still hasn't been that promised time when we come here again of our own accord.
Until then, farewell.
Farewell, Igor. We'll be seeing you again soon enough. For now, we should just take some time to rest and wonder what the heck even happened. How long we've been asleep, and a presence beside Gary Stu. I wonder who that is. We've been asleep a very long time. Over a week.
You're awake.
In fact, that next counter now only says 22, if you can see it through those curtains. And Yukari stayed by our side the whole time. How nice of her.
How do you feel?
Well, I'd feel better if she was nicer to someone other than Gary Stu, but oh well. Why are you here? Yeah, where are we?
Thank goodness you finally came to.
Well, she's more concerned about the fact that he's okay.
How much sleep do you need? It's been a whole week.
Been out for a week. That must really suck now that I think about it. Losing an entire week.
I was so worried about you.
Once again, Yukari seems pretty kind-hearted.
Oh yeah, this is Tatsumi Memorial Hospital. It's just a short walk from the station.
People who know Persona 4 might have bells ringing in their head when they hear the name Tatsumi. There's no relation. Probably. Maybe there is. That's a matter for fan speculation.
The doctor couldn't find anything wrong with you. He said you were just exhausted.
Well, that's a relief, so clearly those things aren't real guns.
But you kept sleeping and sleeping. You know how worried I was?
Well, he was having a pretty long dream about personas and psyches and, again, a creepy old man with a long nose. He seemed nice, though.
I'm sorry I couldn't do anything. Even though I was supposed to protect you, But your power, it was amazing.
Yeah, figures that Gary Stu would have the most amazing power in this world. Both of these are quite different, but, I think Yukari already explained what those things were.
The power you used, we call it persona.
And Igor already explained this to us.
And those creatures you defeated are shadows, our enemy.
So again, Yukari already told us what shadows were.
We'll explain everything later. I'm sorry I didn't tell you before.
Shadows have symbolic significance as well, but that'll be explained a fair bit later in the story. Let's just say that shadows and persona are linked.
I wanted to tell you that.
Is she going to confess her feelings for us? Gary Stu wishes.
I'm sort of like you.
Huh. What does she mean by that?
My dad died in an accident when I was little.
Well, you see, I don't think you actually are alike, because Gary Stu's dad's death was not an accident. His mum murdered him.
My mom and I aren't exactly on good terms.
Well, Gary Stu and his mum were on very good terms. That's why he came back, for revenge.
You're all alone too, right?
But, well, he is alone. Technically speaking, his mum's kind of taking some time out from reality at the moment.
To be honest, I already know about your past.
Wait a minute, did you just... You're not supposed to know about that. Yeah, his past is related to an entirely different game world. And if the two game worlds were to merge, I shudder to think what might happen.
But it didn't seem fair, so I wanted you to know about mine. It was back in '99. There was a big explosion in the area. Supposedly, my dad died in the blast, but nobody really knows what happened.
Gary Stu's records, or at least the ones that he falsified to get into school, claim that something happened to his parents in 1999 as well. Seems like a significant year.
He was working in a lab run by the Kirijo group.
As we knew from that earlier cutscene, the Kirijo group seems to be a pretty big electronics corporation. And well, that's Mitsuru's surname, so she's obviously connected.
So, I'm hoping that if I stick around long enough, I'll find out something.
That's why she is with Mitsuru. She has an ulterior motive.
That's why I'm going to Gekkoukan High, and why I was there when this happened to you.
The Kirijo group's connected to Gekkoukan High as well.
Of course, I panicked and wasn't much help. It was my first time fighting them too.
You know, I mean, it makes perfect sense to panic when you're told, oh yeah, this thing that can help protect you from these monsters, it looks like a gun and you have to fire it at your head. Yeah, I think anyone would panic when hearing something like that.
I'm sorry. You wouldn't have to go through all this if I wasn't such a coward.
It's only natural to be a bit scared at something like that. It's not her fault.
Thanks. But still. Here I am telling you all this the minute you wake up. While I was waiting, I thought to myself, I've been hiding so many things from him. As soon as he wakes up, I'll tell him the truth.
And Gary Stu was like, I wish you were hiding something else from me and you would confess something and then we'd get our S support and then I'd be able to unleash unlimited power.
So, thanks for listening. I've been wanting to share that story with someone for a long time.
But she's finally opening up.
All right, I'm gonna get going. I'll let the others know you woke up. Take it easy, okay? Be a good patient. And don't hesitate to call the nurse.
Oh, I don't think Gary Sue's gonna hesitate to call the nurse, if you know what I mean.
I'm sure she'll take good care of you.
I'm sure Gary Stu wants her to take good care of him. I feel very bad for that nurse.
Bye.
At least we know we got a friend here. And well, life goes on. It's now Saturday, but we still actually have to go to school. Technically speaking, school on Saturdays was abolished in Japan in 2002. But because that's a government law, some private schools still do it. School on Saturdays, I mean. It's kind of a little controversial, and in fact, recently I've read that they're thinking of bringing back Saturday school in Japan. Again, though, some non-government schools still do it anyway. Guess we're alright. Oh. Yeah, they said they'd tell him everything later. 4th floor of dorm after school. Looks like we're finally gonna get the truth. Huh, weren't you the one who was trolling that exchange student earlier? I mean, mammoths are just big elephants, but they also have a very good offensive typing and common checks to things in the 2015 VGC metagame. So this guy totally isn't obsessed with samurai. Then again, the Sengoku era is one of the few eras in Japan that you really hear about. I mean, it's the subject of a lot of games, including Pokemon Conquest. Oh, of course Junpei would get picked on. Poor guy. Exactly, how are we supposed to know something like that? But we, as players of this game, have the magic of being able to access Google. So, a quick Google search for housing in the Jomon period, you'll get a lot of Google images that come up that make it very obvious that they are mud huts. That's correct, they were in fact mud huts. And the teacher still doesn't like it. Is that like an unintentional pun? Katanas, everything else is dull. Oh. At least Gary Stu's a little bit more popular. And everyone knows that he was nice to Junpei. Admittedly, he's only doing that because he thinks that maybe Junpei will be able to introduce him to some waifus someday. But increasing our charm is actually going to help us get a waifu later, so it's important. We'll be discussing something important today. We're still roughly in the prologue phase, so we don't have free time. Huh, looks like someone's back there talking with the pharmacy owner. That someone we'll be knowing. Also, that monk sitting on that bench is someone we'll also be getting to know later. No one at the lounge. They said they'd all be at the 4th floor anyway. Let's see what's on TV. My controller's vibrating. There seems to have just been an earthquake. Don't worry, happens all the time. Oh, wow, that's harsher considering this game came out before the... Oh. Yeah, that is something that's a little hard to read these days. Anyway, this game was actually set in the future at the time it was made. It's set in 2009 when the game itself actually came out earlier than that. But anyway, we've certainly had a long day, and it's gonna get longer because we're gonna have some pretty interesting things explained to us very soon. Okay, so I guess it's time to head on up to the 4th floor to check out that meeting that we were supposed to go to. I think we should have a pretty good idea of exactly where this is. One more floor up. So, remember those big doors from before? Now we're finally gonna find out what they mean.
Ah, there you are.
These doors seem to lead to the headquarters of these people.
I'm glad that you're okay. The reason I asked you here is because I needed to talk to you.
Well, that's fairly obvious.
Please, have a seat. Oh, before that, I believe I mentioned him earlier, but this is Akihiko.
Don't know if he's ever really had much time to actually meet Gary Stu.
How you doing?
Okay, let me start off by asking you this. Would you believe me if I said that a day consists of more than 24 hours?
And we have no option but to disbelieve him.
I'm not surprised by your reaction. However, you've already experienced this truth firsthand. Do you remember the night you came here?
Well, how could we forget? Well, Gary Stu seems to have forgotten because he didn't really pay it much mind at all.
You had to have noticed the signs.
He seems to have had his music player up too loud, though.
The streetlights went out, nothing was working, there were coffins everywhere.
Though the music player did go out the moment that time hit.
Didn't it feel like you were in a different time?
Or a different dimension, almost.
That's the dark hour, a time period hidden between one day and the next.
It occurs each night as the clock strikes 12. It'll happen tonight and every night to come.
Normal people don't realize it, since they're all sleeping inside their coffins.
So what this means is that, to people playing this game, it's entirely possible the Dark Hour could actually be happening and you just wouldn't even be aware of it. Creepy.
But that's not what makes the Dark Hour so interesting.
So, people turning into coffins, and electronics not working, and everything looking like blood. Yeah, that's not interesting at all.
You saw those creatures. We call them shadows.
Yukari already told us that.
They only appear during the dark hour and attack anyone not in a coffin.
Well, I suppose that's what happened to that guy who kinda melted.
It's our job to defeat them. Sounds exciting, huh?
Akihiko, why are you always like that?
We can already get a good feel for this guy's personality already.
You just got hurt the other day.
Now. He does his work well.
At least he does seem to be a pretty competent fighter. When he's not getting curb stomped in the cutscene to show how powerful an enemy is.
Long story short, we're the Specialized Extracurricular Execution Squad, S.E.E.S for short.
No relation to Sealed from Lost Dimension.
On paper, we're classified as a school club, but in reality, this group is dedicated to defeating the shadows.
I still think this is pretty much the coolest school club ever. I mean, fighting demonic creatures that are hidden now that no one ever realizes, saving humanity, that's a pretty awesome thing to do as a school club.
Mitsuru is the leader. I'm the club advisor.
We could pretty much already tell Mitsuru was the leader from the start, but Ikutsuki seems to know quite a lot about this kind of stuff, and he's only the advisor? Why is that?
a shadow feeds on the mind of its prey. The victim becomes a living corpse. They're responsible for most of the incidents on the news, if not all of them.
I think things are starting to come together now. We've got actually a couple of interesting questions here. Now, we could ask how we fight them, but we pretty much already know that. Yeah, what do the police do at this time?
Unfortunately, the police can't do anything during the dark hour.
Unless there was a police officer who happened to have the potential, but, you know what, that couldn't possibly happen.
Although rare, there are those who can function during the dark hour. Some may even awaken to a power that enables them to fight the shadows.
That's why they were monitoring Gary Stu. That's why it was so significant that he didn't turn into a coffin.
That's Persona, the power you used the other night. The shadows can only be defeated by Persona users. Which means it's all up to you guys. I'm glad you're quick to understand.
What he's trying to say is, we want you to join us. We've prepared an evoker for you. We'd like you to lend us your strength.
I think this is the first time we've heard these summoning devices referred to by their actual name. Yeah, those gun-like things are evokers, and last time we temporarily borrowed Yukari's, but we've got our own now. Well, I'm pretty sure we have no choice.
I was afraid you'd say no. Welcome aboard.
She's really glad to have someone who's around her age here.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad. Oh, I almost forgot. About your room assignment. Why don't you just stay here, in your current room?
And Gary Stu is like, jackpot!
I don't know what the holdup is, but I guess it worked out in the end.
Seeing that he's the chairman of the school board, he probably pulled a few strings.
Hold up. But wasn't that... Oh, never mind. It doesn't matter anymore.
Wait a minute. That's never happened before. Thou shalt have our blessing when thou choosest to create a persona of the full Arcana. At the moment that doesn't make sense to us, but it will in a moment. This is what Igor said about social links. We now have our very first one. Though it's a little special, it works quite differently to other social links in this game. Full Arcana represents innocence, freedom, creativity, and most importantly, the idea of infinite possibilities. Igor in this game describes it quite well when he says that what it represents is like the number 0. Empty, and yet has limitless potential. In fact, when tarot cards are used for playing cards, the Fool tends to represent either 0 or 22. In other words, it can be either the lowest ranked card or the highest ranked card, or both at the same time, or it can act as a wild card. All of those are relevant to how the Full Arcana is used in this game for its symbolism. It corresponds to the Joker in normal decks of playing cards. It's kind of outside both the major suit cards and the minor cards. It exists on its own level. And that's why it's usually numbered 0, although sometimes it doesn't even have a number at all. However it's treated, it's usually one of the most important cards in the deck, which definitely fits with the way that in the Persona series, the Full Arcana usually represents the protagonists. The idea of them being empty but with limitless possibilities is kind of a meta nod to the fact that the protagonists are blank slates whose personalities are decided by the player. The limitless potential and possibilities, which is also represented by the bindle stick that the Fool holds on the card, that represents untapped collective knowledge, just like the protagonists of Persona games have great power but haven't yet learned how to use it. This limitless potential manifests in the protagonist's ability to use any persona, not just the one they start with. However, their starting persona, in this case Orpheus, is of the Fool Arcana. In Tarot, the Fool is also associated with something called the Fool's Journey. Basically, if you take the Fool card, then go through every other major arcana in order, you get a metaphor for a character's journey from innocence to finding a sense of meaning and purpose in their life, and meeting all of life's challenges and the various kinds of people they meet along the way in their life. The Fool's Journey is a pretty significant part of the symbolism of this game, so we will be seeing more on that later. So it's definitely one that's most associated with them. Now, as a social link, the Fool Arcana represents the protagonist's bond with the Specialized Extracurricular Execution Squad, or S.E.E.S. And because of this, remember I was saying that this is a very special social link? It's quite different from a lot of others. This is a story-based social link. The Fool link automatically ranks up during plot events over the course of the game, and you will always max it out by the end of the game. This means that in a max social link run, we really don't have to worry about the Fool Arcana. It does all the work for us, it'll just max itself on its own. But what this actually means for a max social link run is that we won't be using very many Fool personas. The reason being, normally when you're working on a social link, having a persona of the matching arcana increases the rate at which the social link levels up. Of course, the Fool social link automatically levels up, and there's no way to speed it up or slow it down, so having a Fool persona on you really does nothing to impact social links, and because of that, they're actually kind of a waste of a persona slot in a max social link run. Now, if you're not concerned with maxing social links, then by all means you can use all the Fool personas that you want. But for us, we're not actually going to be using Fool personas, or at least we're going to try avoiding that until we've maxed out most of our other links. Trust me, we need to use our persona slots on ones that do impact social link progression. Now, every arcana has a set number of personas associated with it, and you'll see how its rank impacts the personas we create eventually. Most of this won't make sense now, but I'll just go over it here anyway because this is where the Fool link is being started. Generally speaking, all the personas of an arcana tend to have something in common. Each arcana has its own attributes, and this also goes for enemies aligned with that arcana as well. The Fool, fitting with its nature as a symbol of limitless possibilities, is basically a jack-of-all-trades arcana. Most personas of this arcana pretty much use a wide variety of different skills, and in fact their main trait is the fact that they can inherit just about any skill, no matter what it is. Like I said, skill inheritance might not make sense now, but it'll make sense in a few parts, trust me. What you need to remember is that most Fool personas aren't restricted in the kind of skills they can learn, and like I said, this makes them excellent jack-of-all-trades personas. And Arcana's personas also tend to be tied together by a common mythological theme. The ones for Fool are taken for a wide variety of different mythologies, or simply old traditional pen and paper RPGs when it comes to slime. But one thing that I actually have noticed they have in common, some of them are trickster deities, but the main thing I found out in my research is that a lot of these personas have a reputation in their mythologies for being shapeshifters. Loki, Ose, and I think even Slime kind of fit that. This fits the idea of the Fool having infinite possibilities and limitless potential. The idea of being malleable and able to take on any form really fits that. You might notice those question marks in the persona list. This is something that's going to be very important in this Max Social Links run. Every Arcana has one ultimate persona, the one that you need to max the link in order to create. For Fool though, there are actually two ultimate personas. The first is the normal one that works the same as any other ultimate. The second is the true ultimate persona. This is your reward for maxing every social link in the game, so this is what this run is heading towards. I'll explain those two personas when the time comes. Arena's strength is growing. The stronger our social links, the stronger the persona we can summon. And now, once again, it's time for the Dark Hour. We're pretty much going to have to get used to it by now.
Hi, how are you?
Oh no. I don't think we'll ever get used to this. Except this time, he's being even more creepy. How did he get in here?
I'm always with you.
And even more creepy.
Soon, the end will come.
And, well, let's just say that every single thing this guy says makes him even creepier.
I remembered, so I thought I should tell you.
I don't care.
The end of everything. But to be honest, I don't really know what it is. Oh, looks like you've awakened to your power. And an unusual power it is. A power that takes many forms, yet is bound by none.
That's essentially what the full Arcana is.
It may prove to be your salvation, depending on where you end up. Do you remember when we first met?
I'm pretty sure that's scarred us for life by this point.
I expect you to honor your commitment. I'll be watching you, even if you forget about me.
Once again, creepy.
Okay then. See you later.
Let's hope that later is a very long time. I haven't really been able to say this until now, but the scenes with Young the End in Lost Dimension really reminded me of the scenes with that guy. Huh, we skipped straight to Sunday evening. Guess because there's no school on Sunday. There was pretty much no reason to see the rest of that day. We don't really have anything to do on Sundays at this point in the game. We will eventually, but not now.
Hey, it's me. Can you come down here?
Got something to do now, though.
Okay, he's here now. So, what's this all about?
There's someone I want to introduce.
Huh.
Hey, hurry up.
Hold your horses. This is freaking heavy.
Wait a minute, is that who I think it is?
Junpei? Why is he here? Wait, don't tell me.
That thing that he said to us earlier, before we went to school, that there was something that he couldn't tell us about yet?
This is Junpei Iori from Class 2F. He'll be staying here as of today.
And this place just got a whole lot more awesome.
What's up?
He's staying here? You've got to be kidding me.
Oh, by the way, get used to this song, you're going to be hearing it a lot.
I bumped into him the other night. He has the potential, but he just awakened to it recently.
Yep, even he has the power of Persona.
I told him about us, and he agreed to help.
You have the potential? For real?
Don't underestimate people.
He found me crying like a baby at the convenience store, surrounded by a bunch of coffins.
Though that isn't exactly the most dignified way to realize you have the potential.
I don't remember much, but man, that's embarrassing. He said that's, you know, completely normal in the beginning.
To everyone who isn't Gary Stu, who wasn't bothered by that thing at all,
Like being confused and not remembering anything. Did you guys know that?
once again, Gary Stu didn't suffer any of those symptoms.
Big deal. It happens to everyone else.
He's got a point there.
But man, I was shocked to find out about you guys.
Yeah, finding out that your classmates are actually members of a secret organization that fights shadows.
I had no idea. I'm glad I'm not the only one. It could get kind of lonely, you know? I'll bet you're stoked too, right? Having me join?
Well, I am, but I'm not sure everyone is.
Huh?
Yeah, Yukari's not exactly so keen on this.
Yeah.
Well, enough with the introductions. I think we're about ready.
Ready for what?
We're gonna go do something?
Yes, we're actually gonna have some actual gameplay.
Sweetness.
With this many people, we can start exploring that place.
And everyone is just so vague.
You mean Tartarus?
And once again, a word highlighted in green. Must be significant.
Tartarus? What's that? Sounds like toothpaste.
Actually, it sounds like a place where the worst evils in the world are imprisoned. And apparently we're going there. Gary Sue, I hope you can handle yourself.
We believe we can find the reason for the dark hour there.
Well, that'll certainly be a good thing to know.
I hope so.
The chairman will give us the details tomorrow night, so be ready.
Tomorrow night, we explore. But first, just a regular school day. Weirdly enough, I tend to feel refreshed on Monday mornings. And once again, never do this! Morning assembly. I mean, I guess sleeping through that's okay. I believe this is the first time we're actually having lunchtime.
Thought I was gonna fall asleep in there.
Well, good thing you didn't, because you would have gotten an academics boost out of it.
Can I have a minute?
Now, I think Mitsuru walking into a class like this is a pretty big deal for the other students here.
Come to the lounge when you get back to the dorm. I have something to tell everyone.
Oh, are we having that talk?
I'll save the details for later. See you there.
This is probably about Tartarus, isn't it? Might be best that we don't tell the other students about that. They'd probably think we're crazy.
Wow, she didn't waste any time leaving.
She's probably busy with things like student council, unlike us.
We'll learn more about her role in the student council later.
Ooh, Yucatan. Do I sense some hostility?
Well, it's not that I don't like her. She's just...
She seems a little standoffish, a bit distant from everyone. I think that's what she's getting at there. But now it's after school. Normally, going home from school early would be something to rejoice about, but if you look closely, you can see some characters in the background who might be important later, hint hint. But this time it's for something a little more dangerous. Laughing at each other's inappropriate jokes. Oh, Gary Stu's probably making lots of inappropriate jokes, most of them involving Yukari. Guess we got 4 people now.
Okay, everybody's here. I'd like your undivided attention. For a long time, Mitsuru and Akihiko were the only persona users we had.
I think having only 2 would stretch yourselves pretty thin.
But that number recently jumped to 5.
The reason I said 4 before is because, you'll see, one of them kinda doesn't count at this point.
Therefore, starting tonight at 12 a.m., I'd like to commence the exploration of Tartarus.
And so begins the basically second half of this game.
Sorry, I asked this yesterday, but what's this Tartarus thing again?
You haven't seen it, Junpei?
Hmm?
It's no surprise, since it only appears during the dark hour.
If there's a place that only appears during the dark hour, it's probably connected.
The Dark Hour?
I'm not even sure Junpei's been
Just like the shadows. Interesting, huh?
filled in on that aspect.
And it's the perfect place for us to train.
Of course, Akihiko's still concerned about training.
You can think of it as a shadow nest.
Whoa. Their nest, huh?
But, Senpai, what about your injury?
Since Akihiko hasn't fully recovered yet, he'll only come as far as the entrance.
Like I said, one of us doesn't really count at this point.
Yeah, I know.
So, he'll be out of action for a bit.
Well, I'm sure he won't complain, as long as you don't go too far in. Since we're dealing with shadows, Tartarus isn't something we can avoid.
Relax, I've got your backs.
I like this guy already.
I'm not so sure about this.
What about you, Mr. Chairman?
I'll stay here. As you know, I can't summon a persona.
And this is why he doesn't have a more active leadership role in this organization, despite having a high position of authority. For some reason, he can function during the Dark Hour, but he doesn't have a persona. Wait a minute, I recognize this place. Isn't this...
This is it? This is the place? Why here?
Just wait a few minutes.
So this is the school, isn't it?
It's almost midnight.
What happens to the school at midnight?